budgets are on their own and they should have the responsibility. It's what really makes this bipartisan budget deal so hard to do when President Trump has already cut billions of dollars in public broadcasting, decimated agencies like FEMA, like the Department of Education, and now we're being asked to support a budget that's not a clean resolution because it already includes these billions and billions of dollars in cuts with no protections for the future.
Let's talk to callers. We take you live now to the White House, where President Trump is holding a cabinet meeting on this 9th day of the government shutdown.
And just like that, President Trump begins his cabinet meeting. This was starting late. This was supposed to start an hour ago. But it's here now. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. We will get to the cabinet meeting. Cigar in hands, Christoph Cheskadris. I had one. And this is the Tesla lighter. Right here, the SpaceX lighter.
A lot of Scandinavians. This is
so
very
awesome.
important for Scandinavians.
I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz today. Let the games begin, producer Landon.
I think very non-controversial, frankly, but some people would say it's controversial. Go ahead.
This is like Explorer Day for you, sir. Today we have your Columbus Day proclamation for Monday.
So you've got President Trump starting his cabinet meeting. He's starting off with signing a couple of executive orders, one about Columbus Day, one about, I think, Finland. Isn't the president of Finland, or is he the prime minister? Which is the official title? I think he's coming to the White House this afternoon. Yes, Finnish President Alexander Stubb will be at the White House. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. 833-468-8669. 833 got Tony. Cigar in hand, peace deal in hand, shutdown on day 9. Lord only knows what we're going to get from the cabinet meeting. This was supposed to start an hour ago. Hour late, but good news for us. I cannot wait to hear how Trump gets on Trump things. A lot of people talking about this peace deal. This peace deal means the hostages will be returned. 250 Palestinian prisoners are going back. These are terrorists, some of them involved in October 7th. I want it to work. I want these hostages back. I don't trust Hamas at all. Let's take it to the cabinet meeting.
Breakthrough in the Middle East, something that people said was never going to be done. We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace. Peace in the Middle East. We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process. I'd rather not tell you what they have to do to get them. There are places you don't want to be, but we are getting the hostages back on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, and that'll be a day of joy. I'm going to try and make a trip over. We're going to try and get over there. And we're working on the timing, the exact timing. We're going to go to Egypt, where we'll have a signing, an additional signing. We've already had a signing representing me, but we're going to have an official signing. And the amazing thing is all of the countries over there, from Qatar to Saudi Arabia to UAE to all of them, I mean, the rich ones, the less than rich ones, they've all come together, something which is amazing, actually. They've all come together for this, and they're really probably the best relationships they've ever had. So it's been really something incredible that nobody thought it was possible to get it done. And very importantly, the hostages are coming back. As you know, they consider them hostages. They talk about them as hostages, but there are approximately 28 dead people, mostly young, mostly men, but and boys. I mean, boys. The one woman talked about her baby. Her baby's 25 years old, but you know, to her it's her baby, and we're bringing them home. We're getting everything, and to those parents, the dead young man is just as important, as though this person were alive. It's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like it. I've been very much involved. I've never seen anything quite like it. But it's really peace in the Middle East. And you remember October 7th was terrible, but also from the Hamas standpoint, they probably lost 70,000 people. That's big retribution. That's big retribution. But at some point,
It's a war.
that whole thing
President, what do
has
you
to
think's gonna
stop.
happen?
And we're going to see to it. Gaza is going to be slowly redone. You have tremendous wealth in that part of the world by certain countries, and just a small part of that, what they make will do wonders for Gaza. And I think you're going to see some tremendous countries stepping up and putting up a lot of money and taking care of things. But there's tremendous spirit like I haven't seen. And even the news, I won't call it fake news for this purpose, because they really were very fair today, I must tell you, in all cases. But they covered it very well. They covered it very fairly. Everybody loves it, everybody. People that were never giving us a fair shake, frankly, they can't even believe it. They're so
That is true.
they're amazed by it. A lot of people are. But
I mean,
it
he's
was,
getting praise everywhere. Biden couldn't
everything
do
came
this.
together. I
Biden couldn't
think
bring
the
this
attack
together.
was
Biden
very
couldn't make this
important
happen. Why couldn't Biden make this
on
happen?
Iran.
Why didn't Democrats work with Biden to
Because,
make this happen?
let's
But
say
Trump
that
did
didn't
this.
happen, they'd
Trump can
probably
bring the
by
peace.
now have
Trump
a
can
nuclear
rebuild. He's a
weapon,
builder. CNN,
nuclear weapons.
MSNBC,
And
David
therefore,
Ignatius
even
from
if
the
we
Washington
signed a deal,
Post.
there'd be a big
Everywhere,
dark cloud
Trump is
over
getting
it,
the kudos.
and it wouldn't be the same thing. So Iran's different, but Iran wants to work on peace now. They've informed us, and they've acknowledged that they are totally in favor of this deal. They think it's a great thing. So we appreciate that, and we'll work with Iran. As you know, we have major sanctions on Iran and lots of other things. We would like to see them be able to rebuild their country too, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. So I want to express
And they can't
my
support terrorism,
tremendous
Mr.
gratitude
President.
to the leaders of Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey
can't.
for helping us
will.
reach this incredible day and for being there. They were there with us all the way. And of course, as you know, Saudi Arabia and Jordan and so many. I will tell you, President Erdogan was personally involved in dealing with Hamas and some of the others. He's been great. They've all been really amazing. Indonesia's been amazing. Indonesia's been fantastic. The whole world has come together for this. People that didn't get along, people that didn't like each other, neighboring countries that frankly didn't like each other, but now it's just this moment in time. So we look forward to welcoming the hostages, like you can't believe, home to their families, and that'll take place early next week. We hope Monday or Tuesday. And all Americans should be proud of the role that our country has played in bringing this terrible conflict to an end. And I want to thank, some of the people, JD, you were fantastic, and Pete, you were great. Marco was fantastic. Some of you were very much involved. I'm looking around. So
Some of you did
indirectly,
nothing.
I think almost everybody in this room was
Didn't.
involved. Susie, I want to thank you very much. You were incredible. You've done an incredible
Now,
job.
he's going to give the
So,
thanks. Of course,
and
he's going to give
yes,
the kudos
John,
all the way around
what
as this
you've
cabinet meeting continues. This peace deal is legit in terms of the step one. The step one, of course, is the return of the hostages. This is the everything. What do I think the Israelis think of it? I think the Israelis think they're going to get their people back and they're going to be able to bury their dead and they're going to be celebrating the ones who are still alive, not knowing what those lives are going to be like and how you recover from anything like this. I think they are going to be thrilled for that. They are not, I don't believe that the Israelis are cheering because the war is over. I don't think they believe it. There's no trust in Hamas. And the president is only fooling himself if he believes that there is. But if you want to engage the idea of hope springs eternal, if you want to engage the idea of there's an opportunity, you would take it. But rationality matters. And rationality says Hamas cannot be trusted at all in any way at any time, period. These are terrorists. You checked with Iran and Iran likes the deal? Who cares? I get what Trump is about. And he gets to say the world loves this deal. Iran refers to you as the great Satan and Israel as the little Satan. They like the deal? If they like the deal, then you got to ask why. They like the deal because Hamas gets to stay. They like the deal because they fund Hamas. They like the deal because they get to go after Israel another day. Are we all out of our minds? And still, I say to you, good, get the hostages back. Get them back. Now, the idea that Trump is going to go, that's very interesting to me. That is very, very interesting. But if you're going to take the victory lap, you take the victory lap. Do I trust Hamas? No, and neither do you. Neither do you, which is the correct answer. But you don't. It's a weird thing. You don't crap all over this. You don't say, oh my gosh, the president's just walking into a disaster. You can't trust these people. There's no way the peace will hold. All that is true. The peace will not hold. It's Hamas. It can't. History says it can't. You know what you do? You walk in saying, try this. I think Israelis have recognized that they've tried everything and they still got attacked. They were working on creating jobs for Palestinians. The mayor of the area, oh, his name is eluding me. I stood on the spot where he died, where he was killed, where he was murdered. He wanted to build factories. He wanted to build businesses along the Gaza Strip so Palestinians could have jobs. That was his vision. They killed him. I have no faith, but if you got the hostages back, this deal is worth it on every level. The cabinet meeting continues, and you know there are going to be interesting things said. Who knows how many more jobs Marco Rubio now has? They're talking about drug prices right now. We will keep with it. I have got the commentary, so much to get to, including day 9 of the shutdown, and still no one cares. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Crazy. Let me bring this back. Actually, hold on a second. What is this? Smoke along with us and eat, drink, smoke. Ah, I see what I did wrong. I see what I did wrong right there. Let me bring this back to you.
Bargains of all.
There we go.
And I put an end to it. It's over. And now we're, in major, I guess, disputes, but we're winning the disputes by a lot. With the countries, a couple of countries said, we won't do this. I said, well, it's unfair that we're paying 10%, and, you're paying just a fraction of what we're paying for the same product made in the same plant. And they said, well, we're not going to do it. I said, that's okay. You don't have to do it. But I'm going to put a tariff of 9% or 7% or whatever the amount of money is. And I'm going to put a tariff on your country for the amount of money that you're taking advantage of us for. No, you guys said, yeah, I can do that. I'm going to do that. And they would immediately agree. And it'd make the tariff substantially more than the number we're talking about.
Tony,
and they would immediately agree. So we have the consent, I think, of every country, essentially. They know that if they don't do it, we're going to put a tariff on for double the price, and then they're going to do it. So we never had that before. You never had anybody in here that knew what the hell they were doing, I'll be honest. It really it makes me angry. Because for years and years, and this started many years ago, and basically we subsidize the world. So this is going to have a huge positive impact on Medicare, Medicaid, even Social Security. But anything where there's pharmaceuticals, drugs involved, it's going to have a tremendous impact. So we're going to get drug reductions of 100%. I told you 1/8 of 1% that I was proud of myself. Now you're going to get 100%, 150%, 200, 300, 400, 500%. You're going to get the biggest drug reductions that you've ever seen. And they're already, I guess they're starting to kick in, but we've made deals with numerous companies we're going for the full board. We want whatever the price is. So that would mean that the world price, because the world is bigger than the United States, a lot more people, but the world price will go up a little bit and our price will come down a lot. So if a pill sells for $10 in London and $100 here, the pill will go to $20 in London and $20 for us. It's pretty simple. And that is a number that nobody can even fathom. It's a little like tariffs. Nobody knew how big they were. Nobody knew until they started seeing the trillions of dollars that have come in. I don't know why they didn't understand it.
We're paying more, sir.
Something they should have
Still
understood.
paying more.
We were taken advantage of for years with tariffs, and now I don't want to say we're taking advantage, but we've become a very strong country because of the money that's coming in. Republicans have voted repeatedly to pass a clean, nonpartisan bill to reopen our government, and remember,
That's
at
not
the
my
same
phone.
funding levels both parties have supported in the past. So the
Someone's
radical
about to get
Democrats
yelled
have
at
chosen
for
to
the
put the
phone to a
economy of our
cabinet
country. We have the best economy we've ever had. We had the best economy in my first term, but we have an economy that's blowing it away, and we have the Democrats that are trying to obstruct. They don't want to have a good economy. I don't think they want to have a good country. That's why they try and stop our law enforcement from doing what we did in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., we have a great, safe,
Coming back to the radio show.
beautiful
The
capital
economy is not
right
great.
now.
That kills
Beautiful. It's so safe. You
We've
can
got
walk
problems.
down the street. Numerous people
Silver's over
standing
$50
before me
an
were
ounce.
mugged. And you're not going to get mugged anymore. We have a safe capital, one of the safest. We took it from one of the most unsafe places to one of the most safe places in the country. And we also beautified it, and we're in the process of doing even more so. So we're very proud of our capital. Again, we were embarrassed by our capital. A lot of people being killed. They'd come from Iowa, Indiana, Florida. They'd come up, and they end up getting shot. They're not getting shot. We moved out 1,700 people approximately, right? Approximately 1,700 hardened criminals, career criminals. They moved them out. So Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the congressional Democrats are holding the entire federal government hostage. I will tell you, a lot of Democrats want to get this thing open too. They do. They're calling.
So someone should say, hey, let's make a deal. I'm assuming that's you, Mr. President. Nothing would be worse for Chuck Schumer than for 5 more Democrats to come on over and open up the government. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. The cabinet meeting is going on. I got to bring it to you. I got to bring it to you. My gosh. It's just fantastic. The president was talking about the economy, the great economy and the tariffs. If you want to argue what we were being charged, if you want to argue abuses, I'm all in, Mr. President. If you want to argue tariffs are a value, I'm all out. If you want to tell me the economy is good, the spot price right now for gold is over $4,035, and silver is over $50 an ounce. These things are a hedge against the inflation and against other economic issues. We shouldn't lie to ourselves. I want it to be good, and I believe that there's still real faith in you to be able to handle this. Other things are working. This isn't. This tariff debacle is not it. It's not it. No one wants all the time tariffs. And that we have a trade imbalance with name the country. With China, you're right. They cheat, they lie, they steal, they gave us COVID. I say we knock them around. You think the same is true of Sweden? We don't have to treat them the same. It's okay that we buy more of their stuff than they buy of our stuff. It's okay if there's a trade imbalance. As long as they're investing back in us, good. It isn't the end of the world. Now, if we're seeing that in specific markets, people are trying to lock us out, okay, let's rattle the cage. Forever tariffs? Count me out. It is not working. And my proof of this is silver's over $50 an ounce, which, by the way, I'm selling all my silver today. Oh, sure, it could go higher, but honestly, I'm okay with selling early. Oh yeah. I bought it at a much lower price. Not gonna lie. I'm taking advantage of this number. But back to the cabinet meeting, everybody assembled. Marco Rubio and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, flanking him. Let's see what they have to say next.
With Republicans, frankly, because that's the way it works. They wanted to do this, so we'll give them a little taste of their own medicine. But Chuck Schumer proclaimed this morning that every day gets better for them. No, every day it's actually getting worse for them. And they're having a rebellion in the Democrat Party because they want to stop. If you saw all of Schumer,
you never know.
Like 10 different times over the
you
years.
Listen,
he said, you can't shut down government, you can't shut down. And now he's the one that shut it down. So this is a confession that he's acting not to serve the people, but to serve the partisan interests of his party. And I don't think he's serving them well because they're way down. Look, they just lost an election in a landslide. You know, it was interesting. I watched Kamala, who was a sad figure, I watched her the other day saying the election was very close. I said, no, the election was a landslide. We won the popular vote by millions. We won the electoral college by, I think, 312 or 315 to 220 something. But there's another one that we won that's probably, that's why when you see the maps are completely red. It's counties. The counties, we won at 2,505 to 525. So 2,500 to 525. That's called one of the greatest, biggest landslides in history. And that's one that people are using now as a primer. But literally, when you see it colored in, the entire country is red, representing Republicans. So, you know, they go around, they just lie. They just lie. And everything's a big lie with them. Well, the other side, and the other thing I don't understand is, Christie, I looked at crime numbers in Chicago. They're through the roof, and I have a governor who stands up every day and tells us how wonderful Chicago is. It's just a lie. It's like a con job. It's like Gavin Newsom. He says how well he's doing in California, and they're doing terribly. Population's getting smaller, people are leaving, and other people are coming in, and, you know, I wouldn't say it's an even trade. While the other side is focused on playing games, the Trump administration is focused on creating jobs, bringing down prices, and we've really brought them down a lot. That's the other thing. We're bringing down prices a lot. We're bringing down grocery prices, but the big thing is energy. When you bring down energy, everything comes down, and the energy prices are way down. I see we're down to about—
He's got to be able to play this better. You can argue about what it is J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, is doing and how ridiculous it is. Now these people say there's no crime and everything's fine, everyone's safe, and it's just not true, and we all know it. You can't make the argument that, oh my gosh, the prices are down. Now, I will admit, I have not been in a gas station in a week, so I'm not 100% sure where the prices were, but we were back over $3 a gallon here in central Indiana. So I do not know where we are now. Someone's going to tell me in the next 30 seconds. I know it's coming. But the prices aren't down, and that's what's bothersome. And yet, we saw last month that retail spending was fantastic. And how do these numbers jive? People are still spending. There was a story about Delta. Blew my mind. Delta Airlines. Airline beat expectations. You're like, how? How in the world could Delta Airlines beat expectations? How? Higher fares. That's how they did it. Higher fares. Prices are going up. By the way, gas prices in the area, you've got $3 a gallon, basically $2.96 in the southern part of Indiana, near in central Indiana, one of the suburbs, $2.42. Now, if you're at $2.42, you could say something. You could say lower. That's people be like, this is at least going in the right direction. I feel pretty good about it. I'm only talking about the regular unleaded guys, not the premium or anything else. If the energy prices can be shown going down, hot diggity. It's certainly not true everywhere. And maybe utilizing my state as a bad example because of the insane gas taxes we have here. Yes, I know, Republican-run state, and ridiculous gas tax. Ridiculous. You can't say it about the other things. Don't tell people this economy is great when they see it and feel it with their own eyes. Don't do that. But if you've got gas at about $2.40 a gallon, you get to say gas prices are lower, which is a very good thing to be able to say. The cabinet meeting continues. I've got my cigar in hand. It's a Christoph Tres Compadres. It's a lovely, lovely smoke from Glen Case. Grab yours. Join us on YouTube. Tony Katz, look for it. This is Tony Katz Today.
We're really badly affected.
President's going to continue. I'm going to let him. Is this all right, guys? Is this good that we're following this?
And we're looking for the
Good with
people
this?
that are funding them, and those people are going to be
wasn't asking you to use
The people that smack people over the head with a baseball bat. And I'd like now to ask Attorney General Bondi and Secretary Noem to discuss this a little bit and tell where we are. And then we'll go around the room. We'll go quickly. We're going to go quickly if we can because we have a lot of things to do, including I won't be spending that much time here because I'll be leaving fairly soon for the Middle East. And so I'm very honored to be involved with that. I'll tell
Also,
you. It's a
I am
great
not
thing
going
for
to
our
Israel
country.
being
People are
Vegas.
so happy about it. I've never experienced anything quite like it. I've never seen such universal praise for being able to do something. No, it's something that nobody thought was possible, and we're going to end up having peace in the Middle East. Who would have thought? So, Pam, could you start, and then Christy, please.
Sure, President Trump, and despite the Democrat shutdown of our government, our law enforcement officers are out there working without paychecks, round the clock, to keep and make America safe. Secretary Hegseth and I were recently in Memphis. We had 1,100 law enforcement officers in one room with us. The Memphis PD, they were the happiest to see us, don't you think, Secretary Hegseth, of anyone. We had ATF, DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals. I'm not sure if our park police were there. We had Treasury, Secretary Bessent, and of course we had Secretary Noem's Homeland Security, all working together with the Guard. They were so happy to have us there. We've been making arrests left and right. So far, we made 562 arrests and seized 144 illegal guns just in the short time we've been in Memphis.
And many of these people are career criminals. And when you take them out of a place, your crime rate just goes down. These people commit crimes every single day. They're sick. And we're taking them out. In some cases, we're bringing them back to their countries where Biden allowed with his stupid open
I would
borders
like to
that
see
we had in
Doug
our country
Burgum,
to come
former
in.
governor of North
They're being
Dakota,
brought
jump
back
in
to
here
other
and say, you know,
places
I
where
was a
they're being
governor
put
for
in jail, but
8
they're career
years.
criminals.
President
Who
Trump,
wouldn't
last
want
night
this help?
alone, we made 91
What a
arrests,
weird thing for a
19
governor to
firearms
say to his
off the
citizens.
streets,
To her
and
citizens,
one
we don't want the
homicide
help to
warrant
clean
for
it up. That is a
homicide,
crazed
and 4
thing to
sex
do.
offenders
Republicans,
who had
Democrats,
active warrants. One
take
was
the
a
help.
sex offender
Some help here,
on a
some help
child.
there. I think from
Everything
Burgum, it
we
would
did
go a
in Memphis
long
was
way.
worth it, in my opinion, for that one arrest. Think about that. We got a child rapist off the streets, but yet we've made 562 arrests and still going strong in Memphis. Just what we did in D.C. But it's because it's all of us. It's a team working for you to make America safe all together.
Not working for you, working for America.
Thank you,
Thank
You're
you,
doing a great
President
job,
Trump.
and it's amazing that we're not getting cooperation
me.
from Democrats. It's like, it's a new issue. You know, we have all the old issues of the wall and the border and all of the things, men playing in women's sports who they still want that, transgender for everybody. All these issues are so crazy, but we have a new one. It's called crime. We stop crime, and they allow crime. They want crime. It doesn't make sense. I think it's as ridiculous as the other things that we talk about all the time. But I've added it onto our list, a 5-letter word called crime. We stop it, and they actually incite it. It's crazy. You would think they'd want them. You'd think they'd want Christy and Pam and all of the people. If we needed the military, people will be there. We've got a massive military. We have the best numbers we've ever had for recruitment. We have a lot of people now. We have people that can't get into them. In a great economy, they want to be soldiers again. A year ago, they didn't want to even think about it. Same thing as with police and firemen, everything. They want to join. They're proud of our country again. Christy, go ahead, please.
Well, sir, thank you for your leadership and for deploying all of government to help us keep our country safe. You have talked extensively about how threatened our ICE officers are, but all of our law enforcement out there. And we saw the shooting in Dallas at that facility, so we're hardening all of our buildings and making sure that we have more security measures, snipers on the roof, people to protect our law enforcement while they're out there on the streets. But
That's Christy Noem. She is the Secretary of Homeland Security speaking at the cabinet meeting. Everybody assemble. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. I see a new seat for Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary. That's a little different. I think that's a new seat for him. Neither here nor there, of course, talking about sending law enforcement into Memphis, helping to clean that city up, the success there. You know, the Portland conversation has gotten stranger and stranger and stranger. I have not been to Portland, so I don't know the situation. What I do know is that anybody who wants to tell me that there's no such thing as Antifa, that is not somebody who can be trusted. They can't be trusted. Antifa doesn't exist. Who wouldn't want to be an anti-fascist? These people are violent. These people are dangerous. These people destroy. You don't want these people on your streets at any time, anywhere. Oh, but they're anti-fascist. Sure. That's some great wordplay. Right? Next thing you're going to tell me trans women are women. It's that dog won't have. Next, you're going to tell me gender affirming care is really helpful. These people are just too much. So the cabinet meeting's going on, and it started with the security conversation from the Attorney General Pam Bondi and now Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security. President Trump speaking.
Numbers are way down.
Fantastic, and it shows what a partnership can be between local law enforcement and the federal government. And if we have to do it the hard way in Portland and Chicago, we will. But the people demand.
And
the
President
safety.
Trump, my lawyers are in court right now as we speak for you, arguing in Chicago and Portland to keep them safe, to bring in the guard. The government doesn't want it there, but we do. We're going to keep their citizens safe, thanks to
The
you.
people want it. I don't understand the politics of it. I don't understand why Pritzker is trying to protect people that are
They're more
really
scared of,
bad.
they're more scared of the anarchists that are on the street and the politics of it than they are of doing the right
I
thing.
think they're afraid.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they're
they're
threatened. They don't tell us, but I think Pritzker's threatened by people. There's no other reason that this could be possible, that they don't want to have a safe Chicago. And we can solve the problem very quickly. And we're doing that anyway, regardless of if he doesn't want it.
This is
or
why
if he does
I
want it, we're
said,
doing it anyway.
I was saying earlier during the break to people in the live stream, youtube.com/Tony Katz, this is where President Trump should turn to Doug Burgum, the energy secretary, who was the governor of North Dakota, and say, you're a governor. What would you do in this situation? And let Burgum discuss getting the help and getting the assistance. And maybe a governor would say, Mr. President, we don't need it here. We need it over there. But there's no sense in not taking the aid from the federal government when we pay the taxes. There's no reason not to say, hey, let's get the help for these specific areas and these specific subjects and work with you to tailor it instead of the broad brush, really, really precision kind of things. I think that would have a tremendous amount of effect if that came from Doug Burgum, because he's seen as a guy, remember when he ran for president, people were like, who is he? Although he was very successful with his company and then selling to Microsoft, very successful as the governor of North Dakota, very much so. And so he would carry a lot of weight with that story. They should go to him.
You know, I don't
Marco
know.
Rubio now.
One day, perhaps the entire story will be told about the events of yesterday, but suffice it to say, it's not an exaggeration that none of it would have been possible without the President of the United States being involved. It really began with your trip to the Middle East, where these relationships were forged with partners in the region, personal relationships, close relationships that created the foundation where all this was possible. Where I think this really took a turn. Remember, a month ago, no one thought this was possible. Where it really took a turn about a month ago, less than a couple weeks ago, is when we were at the United Nations, and you convened a historic meeting, not simply of Arab countries, but of Muslim-majority countries from around the world, including Indonesia was there, Pakistan was there, and created this coalition behind this plan. Then on that following Monday, you met with the Prime Minister of Israel here, and that plan was presented. And then, of course, our great negotiating team followed up on it. In the interim, again, perhaps the stories will be told, perhaps they will never be told. The President had some extraordinary phone calls and meetings that required a high degree of intensity and commitment, and made this happen. And I think what's important to understand is that yesterday what happened was really a human story. There's a geopolitical aspect to it, there's no doubt about it. It creates the conditions for Gaza to one day be a normal place again, and people to have a better life, and Israelis to be safe. But yesterday was a human story. And because of the work you put in, and honestly, there is not only is there no other leader in the world that could have put this together, Mr. President, But frankly, I don't know of any American president in the modern era that could have made this possible because of the actions you have taken unrelated to this and because of who you are, what you've done, and how you're viewed. And this weekend, because of that, at some point very soon, we are going to see 20 living human beings emerge from the darkness into the light for the first time in 2 years. And that is because not only were you used the credibility and the power and the prestige of this office and the relationships you created, and you committed yourself to making it happen. And I think it will go down as a historic moment in the history of our country, and something our country should be very proud of. That we have a president that's committed to not just peace, but to the human aspect of reuniting these families. My last point on this is just a couple days ago, Secretary Lutnick hosted us all, many of us, at the Kennedy Center. And we have these families, we've interacted with them for so many years, for 2 years now. And the stories are heartbreaking, both whose families are alive and those who are deceased as well, who want their relatives back so that they can complete the process of grieving. And it was, we had all hoped that perhaps that was the day that we would have an announcement for them on the anniversary of the 7th, but I know you were able to speak to some of those families last night, and I just hope the whole nation understands how incredibly proud they should be of their president and of their country for the role that they've played. And I don't want to let this moment pass, Mr. President, without also noting the incredible work of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They're an incredible team working together, facing some substantial impediments to even being there this weekend and doing it. Let me just leave it at that. And they've done a great job on your behalf, Mr. President. They deserve a tremendous amount of credit. But thank you for what you've done for the world.
Marco is so good. And if I'm JD Vance sitting across the table from him, I'm saying he's going to challenge in 2028. He just is. Trump may have said, don't ever run, just do this. You're great at this. Don't ever run. Marco can tell a story. Marco can move a story. He always has been able to. And yes, he ran for president against Trump, and he got beat good because he wasn't able to fight the Trump fight. He has now had years to do this, to learn, to get better. But he's always been this. He's always been the guy with finesse and able to engage. Absolutely. His ability to share a story, his ability to encapsulate, terrific. Just absolutely terrific. This cabinet meeting is going to continue there. Let's see if we get some information, because every time there's been a cabinet meeting, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has had something else to say as Secretary of Health and Human Services. And of course, the last one was, we're going to be talking about autism. And then there was this reporting about autism and acetaminophen. And people were outraged and upset. We had Dr. Robert Malone on, who said, listen, Tylenol, acetaminophen is the best of the things that you can take, but it's still not good if you're pregnant, and here's why. And I've got that interview up. If you get the podcast, it is there. We'll see what he has to announce today. The cabinet meeting continues. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. That's
It's been remarkable, and now we're seeing the remarkable result. And we got one more that I know you want to end with Russia and Ukraine. Energy is going to play a key role in that. And now with this historic agreement, we're in a position working with the Middle East to also end the Russian-Ukraine conflict. So again, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Maybe I'll go to you for a second. You can just cap out what he said about the military, how well we're doing and how big it is and how strong it is.
Mr. President, you're exactly right. At the War Department, you don't get peace without strength. And our job is to be the strength part of the equation and deliver that when necessary, as you demonstrated with your order of Midnight Hammer, and the entire world saw. And I just want to echo what Marco said. It is a personal honor to be able to witness the way you lead and negotiate. I wish people had a full understanding of what that looks like. That historic nature. A lot of us vets, the Vice President, Tulsi, Lee, Doug, probably after decades of war and the chaos that was unleashed through reckless and foolish American policies, never thought this kind of peace would be possible. Yet, with your strength, with your ability to wield trade negotiations, personal relationships, to open up that opportunity is truly historic on the world stage. And it creates a whole number of other cascading effects. And watching Marco and the Vice President and Steve across, and Jared, the CIA director, everybody come together to make it happen. You've formed a phenomenal team, Mr. President. And at the War Department, our job is to make sure if and when there's question about American commitment, the whole world knows we've got the biggest, strongest, most lethal, and most ready War Department in the world, which is true, which is why we saw record recruitment in 2025, Mr. President. The first 2 weeks of 2026 already blows that out. FY 2026 already blows it out of the water. In fact, reenlistment has already made its year-long goal in the Marine Corps in 2026.
That's excellent news.
Okay.
You cheer that moment.
There's no other way to create that kind of love and enthusiasm than with your leadership, sir. And it is an honor to work with Pam and with Christy and the cities across the country to make sure American citizens and law enforcement are protected with our National Guard. That's a core mission. And last thing, Mr. President, on the southwest border, the first group that rotated in to lock down that border to 0 crossings is now rotating out. And with a new border medal, the Southwest Border Medal, or it's actually called the Mexican Border Medal, revived from 1918, that will be pinning on their chest. So thank you for renaming the department, and we're trying to live up to it every day. Thank you, sir.
I mean, think of this. We have record numbers of recruitment. 1 year ago, there was
Get to
stories,
cheer
front-page
this.
stories, so we couldn't get anybody to join the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. My beautiful, I call it our beautiful Space Force. I love our Space Force. It's turned out to be very important. But we couldn't get anybody to join. Nobody wanted to join, including our police and fire. They didn't want to join anything. Recruitment was embarrassed, so we couldn't get anybody. And now we're brimming. Now it's, and they're getting in based on merit now. A soldier's a soldier. They come in now based on merit, not based on woke stuff that anybody can qualify. You have to qualify for jobs. You have to qualify for certain types of jobs. And it's amazing. So we were embarrassed a year ago. To think of it, a little bit more than a year ago. I think it stopped on November 5th. I think it really started, this all started on November 5th, the election day. But now everybody wants to be in. We have an overabundance, and maybe we should raise it a little bit. I don't know.
I like that idea, sir.
But we could raise it. But we have so many people want to join, and they're proud of our country again. JD, could I ask you to say a few words?
Yes, sir. So just a couple of things. Mr. President, first of all, congratulations on yesterday. It was a big day to Marco, to Susie, to the entire team. But in particular, viewing it from this perspective where for months the fake news media attacked you, attacked the entire team, attacked your approach. You know, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. The reason we're here is because the president actually charted a different course with a different team. He vested a lot of authority into Steve Witkoff in particular, and that's why we're here. It's because you did something different, and I think it's important to recognize that. I also think the president, you know, Marco mentioned the president's personal touch being a big part of this. You know, the one thing I would say is obviously the president of the United States, a New York real estate billionaire, one of the most famous New Yorkers in the world, has a lot of interaction with a lot of people who are very pro-Israel. I think that was
back to the radio
set
show.
of experiences and life experiences that he brought to the table. He also, of course, knew one of the most famous Palestinians in the world, Chuck Schumer. And I think without that background of knowledge, it would have been impossible to get us to this. Second thing I would say, just on Chuck Schumer, the president mentioned this, that Chuck Schumer said this has been very good for us this morning about the shutdown. One of the things that we talked about before all the media came in, and that all of us are going to work on for the rest of the day, we've been working on for days, is how to make the shutdown as painless as possible on the American people. So while Chuck Schumer brags about this being good, and I think the president is right, it's not good for him politically as much as he might think that it is, it's causing real consequences for the American people. There's a low-income food program, the WIC program, that my mom actually used when I was a baby. That program is about to be underfunded, and it's about to get cut off because Chuck Schumer won't open the government.
J.D. Vance speaking right now. The cabinet meeting continues. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. He started off by thanking President Trump and the work done to create the peace deal, as they're calling it, between Israel and Hamas. And he took a dig at Chuck Schumer, saying part of what made this possible, Mr. President, is that as maybe the most famous New Yorker there is. And you know, you've dealt with a lot of people, including Palestinian Chuck Schumer. Good Lord. But one of the things that got mentioned is Secretary of War Pete Hegseth saying that recruitment goals are already achieved for the year. That was a pretty big announcement. And why are people looking at the military, seeing the military as valuable, joining? It's because they see that we're actually about something and not embarrassed about who we are. And that's why it's happening. So the meeting continues right here, the cabinet meeting. This is Chris Wright, who is the Secretary of the, Burgum Secretary of the Interior. Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy. I have that right? I think so.
Nuclear weapons and our engines for nuclear submarines and nuclear aircraft carriers. We are a key supplier to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. They filibustered, the Democrats filibustered the leader, the administrator of the National Nuclear Security Administration, would not let him come into my department until the Republicans 2 weeks ago changed the Senate rules so they could confirm him and we could have a leader. They filibustered the leadership, now they're filibustering the funding. In the next 6-7 days, we're going to run out of funding, and the retooling of our nuclear stockpile, the ultimate guarantor of our sovereignty, is going to be underfunded, and we're going to have to slow down and creep to a crawl these efforts. Just incredibly irresponsible for Schumer to worry about his own reelection and not the 340 million Americans that count on the efforts of our military and all of our departments. It's truly offensive.
There's going to be a lot of this cabinet meeting that's all about, you're doing great, Mr. President. We love this. You did this. You did that. So thankful for you. Right. There's a lot of that. And I'm not a particularly big fan of that. But this is RFK Jr., and he sometimes brings real announcements.
You're getting bipartisan accolades on the Mideast peace agreement. You should also get bipartisan accolades on the MFN agreement. It is an historic agreement that's going to benefit every hardworking American. It's going to lower the price of drugs for every American. By the time this administration is over, we will have 95% of the drugs in this country will be the lowest price in the world. It immediately begins to affect Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, the other government programs. I remember when I went through the confirmation process, and the principal preoccupation of the Democrats during that process was whether I would continue the IRA negotiations on drugs. The Democrats negotiated 10 drugs. I'm supposed to negotiate every year 15. The 10 that they negotiated, they claimed to get a 22% reduction, but it was a lie. It was 22% under the list price, which was actually higher than the price we were getting. Medicaid, Medicare ended up paying more for those drugs than they were paying beforehand. They only got a benefit on one drug. One was tied. 8 of them were lower. So they should be applauding what we're doing now. We're doing something that every administration, Democrat, Republican, has been saying that it was going to do for decades, and you got it done because you understood the power of the tariffs. We had leverage over these companies. And you did it in a way which you asked us to do, to negotiate in a way that was not going to stifle innovation, that was going to make sure that those companies could bring their production home, and they are doing that. And it was a profound success. It will affect every American for 100 years. And you should be getting bipartisan accolades on that. I'll say one other thing about Tylenol, only because of this. This morning before I came in here, somebody showed me a TikTok video of a pregnant woman, 8 months pregnant. She is an associate professor at the Columbia Medical School. And she is saying F Trump and gobbling Tylenol with her baby in her placenta. And the level of Trump derangement syndrome has now left political landscapes, and it is now in the realm of pathology.
Now, on that, he's absolutely correct. The hatred of Trump is a pathology. He is correct. And it's very interesting and it would sound perfectly government. Well, these other people, they indeed did negotiate lower drug prices, but it was lower drug prices based on list price, so it ended up being higher than the prices we were already paying. That sounds so much like government. Like the minute you hear that from RFK, you listen to it, right? Didn't negotiate down, just took a look at the list and said, okay, 22% off list, but never asked what we're actually paying now. as if somehow that's a savings. That's a government way to think, not the way business people think or rational people think. Excellent work in terms of pointing that out. But what we're doing in trying to fix drug prices, don't ask me to be a part of that. Don't ask me to be in for that, because I'm not. Do I want them lower? Sure, I want them lower. Is the way to get them lower telling the company you're going to do this? It's not the role of government. You want to get rid of regulation? You want to change systems? You do it through legislation. Get rid of regulation. Fine by me. Government force? No. The answer, no. How could we possibly think that we should be okay with that? This was always my concern with someone like RFK. This is also my great split with populists. We'll keep this going. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. He's still talking. There he goes.
The record state what the autism was, let's say, 20 years ago and what it is today?
In 1970, the largest epidemiological study in history was performed. 900,000 kids were looked at. They were looking for autism in Wisconsin children. They looked at every child in Wisconsin who was 8 years old. They found an autism rate of 0.7 per 10,000. So almost close to 1 in 20,000, less than 1 in 10,000. Today, the autism rates are nationally are 1 in 31, but it's actually much worse than that because California, which has the best education system, reports an autism rate of 1 in every 19 children, 1 in every 12.5 boys. This is a national security issue. There is nothing more important, and I'm glad, I'm grateful to you, Mr. President, because you know the flack that you take for talking about this issue. You've shown courage and you've shown leadership, and I can't.
There's a great story here about how Chris Hayes over there at MS.
1 in 20,000.
Why is RFK so obsessed
and
with
now it's 1 in
autism?
12 for boys.
Can't we do something about this?
Girls. So obviously there's something.
The MSNBC host, like, why is he so obsessed with this? Shouldn't we take a look at autism and say, hey, maybe we could do something about this? Ask people who have kids who are autistic. It's not easy.
Water like that, I mean, into a baby's body. And
My brother, rest his soul, was autistic. It wasn't easy. This was the when he was born and my parents realized there was an issue, took him to a psychiatrist or a specialist, and the recommendation was to institutionalize him. My parents told the doctor to go blank off. That's a true story, so help me God, and raise their son. It wasn't easy. Not at all. My parents were right, by the way. And also, they didn't say blank. That's a true story. I don't talk much about my late brother, David. It doesn't come up. But yeah, my parents on this subject, specifically my mother, specifically Diane, a fighter. Good woman. If we can do something about this, we should do something about this. And for people to be like, why is RFK Jr. obsessed about it? That's certifiable. But as I said, RFK always is coming with something. Always at a cabinet meeting, coming with something that makes you go, I'm sorry, what now? And so the thing about the drug pricing, I'm sorry, that is such a perfect illustration of government. They negotiated the price down, but they negotiated from the list price, which no one's paying. They're already paying this price. But they negotiated 22% down, which gets you here. Not here, where we already were. So they actually raised the price. And government said, look how efficient we are. That is such a perfect analysis.
Recommending it. That's the company itself.
Really? I'm going to quote that for the rest of my days. That is just so perfect.
Don't give it to the baby when the baby's born. I think that's going to have an impact.
The data.
But also get the shots in smaller doses.
Drugs and who was involved in that.
There are a few things, we gave a few things that just seem to be, I think you'd get that number.
It's one of those things where all of us are like, yeah, that's it. That's the stuff. That's the stuff that drives us crazy. And they tell us that they're doing good. That story is so perfect. And you tell anybody that story. You sit on any bar stool. You talk about this at the Thanksgiving table, wherever. Aside from some left loony uncle that you may have, everyone will go, that's government. Like, they'll do it in a second. It doesn't matter who you are. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight. Won't matter. Anybody who's of a rational mind is going to go, yep, that is government. That's the issue. That's how good that story is in terms of being an explanatory of, is that the right word? Of the issues with government as a whole.
A lot of vaccines.
Let's go back to I'm Tony Katz.
When you give 82 vaccines and a shot to a little baby
good to
that
be here.
hasn't even formed yet,
Stars,
it's a lot of vaccines. And
something we can do
in
together.
Japan,
I don't know if
they
everybody
give a
does
much
it, but
smaller number. In Germany, they give a much smaller, like 28 vaccines. That's a lot too, but 28 is a lot different than 82. So, but I would say on the Tylenol, don't take it, and that will be. I think it's going to be a big factor. I think it'll be a very good result, and I hope we're going to be able to see that result in the not too distant future. Because certainly, people have heard us loud and clear. That's why I bring it up again. That's why I asked you to talk about it, because this is a horrible thing, and if you don't take it, I mean, you have to tough it through sometimes. There are other things you can do, but you have to tough it out. It's easy for me to say, but I think you're going to see numbers that will be it'll be so significantly improved, and maybe fully improved. I mean, there's something there. There's something going on, and we have to address it. And so I'm addressing it the best I can as a non-doctor, but I'm a man of common sense. Okay, any other questions?
I'd like to comment on the workforce. Mr. President, a lot of people are calling to give you the Nobel Peace Prize after this peace deal that you managed to achieve in the Middle East. First of all, your opinion on that. And I was wondering about your trip to the Middle East, if you can tell us if you're considering to speak at the Knesset, at the Israeli parliament.
Well, they asked me to speak at the Knesset, and I've agreed to. If they would like me to, I will do it.
Really?
It's the first time a president has ever done that, so that makes it very interesting, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I will do it if they want me to. They have asked me to do it. Thank you.
Families of hostages are out in the streets in Israel dancing and crying tears of
They're all
joy.
dancing in the streets right now. They're dancing in the streets. They're so happy. Everybody's happy. They're dancing in the streets of Arab countries, Muslim countries. I've never seen anything like it. Everybody is happy. It's been really amazing. Thank you.
President Trump, on the international peacekeeping force that's going to deploy to Gaza soon, do you expect that Pakistan, Turkey, other countries to contribute forces? Has that become firmed up? And also on the shutdown, it seems like in the House there's a majority support for a temporary extension of the Obamacare subsidies, perhaps minus the funds for illegal immigrants. Is that how you see the deal to end the shutdown happening?
Well, I see the deal just getting extended as we continue to talk, but we're willing to pay because we're paying. It's very simple. We're paying. And the Democrats are the ones that cause this problem. And it's a big problem for them. And they have a lot of break in their ranks. But so I see that, I think that'll get worked out. But we want to get back before we do this. We don't want to have a gun held to our head. We don't like that. And the public doesn't like it either. So we want to get back. And I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to work out very well. It's something that shouldn't have happened. This was supposed to take place before the election. This was supposed to take place on September 28th before the election. We shouldn't even be talking about this right now. This is actually something that shouldn't have even happened. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, looking ahead, what guarantees Hamas disarms and that Israel doesn't resume bombing once the hostages are
released? The first thing we're doing is getting our hostages back, okay? And that's what people wanted more than anything else. They wanted these hostages back that have lived in hell like nobody has ever even dreamt possible. And after that, we'll see. But they've agreed to things, and I think it's going to move along pretty well.
But what is phase two? When does it begin?
I'm not going to talk about that because you sort of know what phase two is. But there will be disarming. There will be pullbacks. There will be a lot of things that are happening. I gave you a whole list of 22 different things that will take place. And I think it'll take place. And I think you're going to end up with peace in the Middle East. But we have to get our hostages back. And we weren't going to do it at the end. We're going to do it at the beginning. We said we want them at the beginning. We're not doing it. We got the hostages back. We did, as a group with Steve and Jared and Marco and me and all of us, we got the hostages back. We got many of them back. Many, unfortunately, were dead. But we got many back that are now living with their families, with their parents in many cases, and with their husbands, families, wives. Many of them.
Coming
they
back to the
celebrate
radio
all over.
show.
They're the ones that are celebrating the loudest. They're all over. There are a lot of them that we got out.
I believe the president was
the
right
last 20,
when
and I
he
always said
said a U.S. president hasn't spoken in front of the Knesset. But I'll have to double check that information. I don't believe George Bush did. I don't believe Reagan did. So it may have never happened. It'd be interesting if he does, because if he goes, is he going to lecture Israel about what it takes to keep the peace? Is he going to talk about the West Bank, which I see as just part of Jerusalem? This will get interesting. Oh, yeah. A lot of ramifications possible here.
That love
Coming back to the
people,
radio
frankly.
show,
I
guys.
know them very well. They love people, but they love Arab people, and they love Muslims, and they love, I think right now they love everybody, and they're immensely wealthy, and they're going to be involved in putting up money, and for them it's a small amount of money. For somebody else it's a large amount of money, but you know, these are the wealthiest countries in the world, and they'll be very much involved in making it as good as possible.
And what's your take now on a two-state solution, sir? Just to follow up on that. What is your view now on a two-state solution for the?
I don't have a view. I'm going to go with what they agree to.
Mr. President, given that there are some tough provisions for Israel in this agreement, are you at all concerned that Bibi Netanyahu may not continue in his post? He may be deposed.
That Bibi may go a little bit out of whack.
That he may no longer be prime minister when this is over.
Look, that's politics. It could be. I don't know. I think he's very popular right now. He's much more popular today than he was 5 days ago.
And he's more popular today than he was when the attack took place. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Be a subscriber over there. Follow over there. I'd appreciate the support. The president engaged in the cabinet meeting, now taking questions from the press. He has announced that he is going to Israel. That will be Monday or Tuesday. He will be there as hostages are released. And when asked by a member of the press if he will speak in front of the Knesset, which I do believe no president has done. I could be wrong about that. The president said that hasn't happened yet, but he could be wrong about that. That he has been asked, but if he does, he has been asked, and if he's asked, he will. Which is an interesting thing for the president to do. Because now does he get into conversations of, let's not mess this up, Israel. Oh, by the way, leave the West Bank be, Israel. Does he go down those roads? Because the Israeli hardliners, Ben-Gvir and others, they're not down with all of this. They're going to say the West Bank belongs, the West Bank is Israel. It's not even a West Bank. We don't even have that conversation. So it is a very interesting trip that could take place if Trump is there. But he said that he's going. Now, the press is asking questions there in the cabinet meeting. Let's take it to them.
Program that the vice president mentioned. Do you know when the funding that you promised through the tariff revenue will actually go through to communities? Because there's reports that WIC providers are actually starting to close down today.
Well, okay, let me just answer to Jared. So Jared's a very smart guy. He did the Abraham Accords. Some people say the Abraham, which I love the way that sounds, but he did the Abraham Accords. It was a great thing. 4 big countries joined. If I were president, if the election would have been a correct election, which it wasn't, you'd have every country in there. Maybe even Iran would have been in there, frankly. But you'd have every country. And now, by the way, that's going to be filled up rather quickly. People want to join the Abraham Accords. And I put Jared there because he's a very smart person. And he knows the region, knows the people, knows a lot of the players. And the combination of him and Steve Witkoff and Marco and Cooper, who is, as I hear, has been fantastic, and others that were involved. JD was very much involved. I mean, we had a very smart group of people working. We had a lot of different players, different countries, and very diverse countries, very different from each other. They had certain things in common, but they had a lot of things, mostly things that were not at all common to their countries. So we had a very smart group of people. These are high IQ people. Okay, you know, I talk about how many low IQ people we have in our government. We got some real low ones, but some shockingly low. But these are very high IQ people, and that's what we want. I like high IQ people. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you. Can I ask you about the China? You're meeting with President Xi. The Chinese have now set to put in new export controls on rare earth minerals, and they've stopped buying soybeans from the U.S. What do you hope to get out of that meeting now with President Xi?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I just heard this a little while ago before we came in, so I haven't been briefed on it. The export. I mean, look, we have the ultimate export. We have import, and we have export. We import from China massive amounts, and you know.
Just to give you an idea of what's going on, China announced a tightening of supplies on rare earth minerals that are utilized in all sorts of technological applications. So China engaging further controls, this is a way of trying to signal to President Trump, hey, if we're going to be having a negotiation, if we're going to be speaking, which they are scheduled to speak, just remember, we control a lot of things you need. Let's not forget who's who. And all of this leads to the, hey, we'll get you your rare earth minerals, and we'll buy this, and we'll even buy some soybeans. But Taiwan, why don't you forget about that? Why don't you just forget about Taiwan? Taiwan, it's like, oh, what is that over there? It's Gilbert Gottfried in Beverly Hills Cop. In this hand, you're looking at this hand, it's like, what is this? What is happening here? I'm not going to do a full Gilbert Gottfried impression. I still have to talk on radio. That's what's happening here. This is about applying the pressure before the phone call to get the best deal. Chinese aren't shy. Absolutely not shy. Why would anybody even think that's the case? Let me take you to what President Trump said in the beginning. What President Trump said in the beginning of this cabinet meeting today.
And we'll be making cuts that will be permanent. And we're only going to cut Democrat programs. I hate to tell you. I guess that makes sense. But we're only cutting Democrat programs. But we're going to start that, and we have Russell. We can talk to you about it if he wants to, but we'll be cutting some very popular Democrat programs that aren't popular with Republicans, frankly.
And why is that? Because you're trying to get Democrats to the table to pass the CR. So the pressure gets applied. It's as if these people aren't used to politics. But that's the move from China right there. Right now, Brooke Rollins is speaking, the Secretary of Agriculture.
We worked on it so hard and opened up markets, but especially this term. But here's what everyone has to understand. The farm economy is in a very uncertain time. But that isn't because of the current trade negotiations, although certainly the China part is part of that. But we inherited a slew of issues. First of all, as the president said, when we left Trump 1, we had an agriculture trade surplus. When we came back for Trump 2, it was a $50 billion ag deficit. That isn't everything, that's just agriculture. The second part is the cost of inputs for our farmers increased on average between 30 and 38%, but that includes fertilizer, it includes fuel, it includes interest rates, it includes labor. All of this came about under Joe Biden, a 47% increase in the cost of labor that now Secretary Chavez-DeRimmer and Noam and I are working on. Fuel is coming down, thank you. Interest rates, thankfully, are coming down. A 73% increase in interest rates for our farmers. They couldn't get loans to make sure that they could move forward. So that's all really, really important. And I think we have to realize what the president's commitment is this, that we're moving into an era of rural prosperity, of a golden age for our farmers in rural America. The trade renegotiations and the trade realignment that Jameson and Scott and Howard have led with the president's leadership is unlike anything that's happened in the history of our country. And those that will benefit the most are the original Americans, our farmers and our ranchers. The president has committed, if we need a bridge, he has talked about that to get us from the Biden years to the new Trump era. That's what we're working on every day. We've got to get the government reopened so that we can move forward on that. And once we do, we'll be able to move out a significant program to help our farmers. Long term, we have to change this hamster wheel of government. We've got to ensure that the farmers have the market to sell, and it's a national security issue and onshoring a lot of the food as well. So, sir, thank you.
I don't say no to making sure that the farmers are able to sell. I'm in favor of this in every single way. But we're going to use tariff money to subsidize the farmers? Tariff money to subsidize the farmers is not what we were told regarding tariffs. Tariff as tactic, not tariff as policy. And now we're talking about utilizing the tariff dollars to subsidize women, infant, and children. We're going to use the tariffs to say, hey, here's food for your kids. I want kids to have food. But is that what the tariff dollar is for? I thought we were going to pay down the debt. This is part of the issue. You put tariffs everywhere, and now you have the president being able to spend on pet projects. That's not it. That's nutty. This is an idea so far left that, as I stated yesterday, Bernie Sanders is like, why didn't I think of that? By the way, speaking of so far left, did you hear Josh Hawley? Josh Hawley, the senator from Missouri, who sounds exactly like, not a little bit like, exactly like Elizabeth Warren. Josh Hawley sounds so much like Elizabeth Warren that his Native American name is actually Elizabeth Warren. I have got that story coming up. The cabinet meeting is done. Went a little over an hour. I'm surprised it ended so quickly. But the president going to Israel, will he speak in front of the Knesset? And going after Democrat programs? Stop telling me about it and start doing it. Also, layoffs. Why in the world are Republican lawmakers opposed to layoffs? Where is the fight in everybody? In a fight that matters, which brings us to a redistricting conversation. That is coming up. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. It's this. I thought I had that fixed. What are you going to do? Just letting everybody know that the show continues. The left will not admit that Antifa is real. It's embarrassing. But you can't admit that something is real if you know you're responsible for feeding it. It is a surreal thing to watch and to witness, that they can't just accept this reality. No, they refuse to be honest about the reality. I mean, this is about lying to their own people, which, as we have seen, happens a lot. There is a lot of lying that takes place. I will get into that coming up. We're back in 30 seconds. And let me see what's going on here. So what you're seeing, Stephen, regarding the collaboration, there have been a couple of joint things for sure. And also it's part of the message that they are talking to each other, that they are engaged with the president. What do you think these public cabinet meetings are all about? They're about saying, look at what Biden did and never having a cabinet meeting. Nobody knew anything. And he, of course, was an invalid. This is what we do in the Trump administration. This is how we work. It is really aggressive in that messaging to show how different. That's a huge part of it. Back to the show. I have to assume by this stage of the game, everybody knows what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is the term of art for how you try to psychologically manipulate someone into believing something true that isn't, or believing something isn't true that is. We've seen this in multiple cases. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be with you. Good to be here. You've seen it in the personal, where the girlfriend catches you cheating and the guy's like, oh, he doesn't catch you, catches somebody else because you wouldn't do that. And the guy's like, it wasn't me. Oh, I guess it wasn't you. Gaslighting. And then we've got it in the political. This is Erin Burnett over at CNN trying to get you to believe that Antifa is not only not a thing, but if it is a thing, the political right is worse.
In fact, it's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, which have had national leaders, unlike Antifa. There is no organized hierarchy to the group. And according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited. But that has not stopped Trump from blaming Antifa for just about every act of violence in America since he first got into office.
Now, what is it like to go to the airwaves and make that statement with a straight face and tell you that Antifa isn't real, isn't a thing, and if they are a thing, the political right's even worse? Who's attacking ICE agents? Who is screaming punch a Nazi? I am not so insane as to say no one on the far right has ever engaged in violence. That's a lie. That's insane. I would never, ever make that claim. But the idea that, oh yeah, Antifa, but look over here. Everything you're seeing about the attack on immigrations and customs enforcement agents is Antifa. Everything you're seeing about people being attacked in the streets, prevented from traveling, that's Antifa. What you saw during the George Floyd riots, Antifa. And they have the audacity to call themselves anti-fascist, and people say, you see, they don't believe in fascism, not like that Trump. Well, my gosh, if you're not an anti-fascist, you must be a fascist. That's not the way the world works. I'm not a fascist, and I know that Antifa is a lying fraud of an organization, and of course these people want to burn it all down. They're not even fascists, they're freaking anarchists. Well, if you have a problem with Antifa, you must be the fascist. My gosh, Marxism at play. That's a lot of wordplay. She said this out loud. Now the question is, do you believe this? Are you gaslit by this? Is it possible that anybody could say, yeah, you know, this Antifa thing is just a whole lot of talk. It isn't a thing. We have a violent contingent of Americans. A violent contingent of Americans who are absolutely hell-bent on burning it all down. They utilize the term, but they're not the thing. Meaning, whether they're fascists or not doesn't matter. And they don't care whether you are. If you're with them, they don't care about your politics. They only care that you brought matches. How else are they going to light the fires? It is radical to make this statement because it is to try and diminish violence that cannot be diminished. And why would you want to? Why would you want to? I can't bring myself to think that there is in any way a what's the word I'm looking for? An honesty to this argument. Is there an honesty to this argument?
Antifa is far from a major sophisticated terror organization like Hezbollah, Hamas, or ISIS. In fact, it's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, which have had national leaders, unlike Antifa.
Antifa isn't these people. Antifa's just, you know, they're just confused. They're just kids. What is the value of this argument? The value of this argument is to say the left doesn't engage in violence, only the right does. The left doesn't do anything wrong, only the right does. The left is peaceful. The left is kind. The left is caring. Repeat after me. The left is peaceful. The left is kind. The left is caring. How is that not it? How is that not it? You, for wanting to go about stopping people from speaking free. You, for assassinating Charlie Kirk. You, for going after and trying to assassinate the then candidate, now president of the United States. Your party, your people. No. It's all them. You are kind. You are peaceful. You are good. How is that not it? Did I miss something in the translation? If there's a group on the political right engaged in violence, we should be like, hey, stop that. Let's get some law enforcement and let's stop that. Let's not be in favor of that. But on the left, they don't say that. It's just, it's kids. But these people over here, that's not news. That's narrative. That's Aaron Burnett. And that is CNN. This is Tony Katz Today. Crazy. Absolutely surreal. Am I missing a part of the conversation? Am I missing a part of this? This question, Luke, what are you doing, Luke? Can you even consider MAGA to be Republican anymore? Where's the small government values or fiscal conservatism? You're having a conversation about the populist, and I am with you. I don't know what these people are doing. This populism is horrifying in my view. Absolutely horrifying. And I have got the story here. I have got the Hakeem Jeffries nonsense. I have got the Josh Hawley nonsense. And I've got the, I don't think I have the show sheet up yet. Sorry about that. Over there, TonyKatz.com. But the GOP is now opposed to layoffs. Why? Why are Republicans opposed to layoffs? What's the win in this? Also, J.D. Vance, the vice president, is going to be in Indiana, my beloved Indiana tomorrow, pushing redistricting. So we're going to talk a little bit about the redistricting. That is coming up as well. And yes, you want to go to shop@vonreist.com. You know what? Take it off right there. Come on, you. There it is. This is called the Rudin record. This is the automatic chronograph. Come on. That is spectacular. And yes, exhibition back. There you are. It's a spectacular timepiece. Shop.vonreist.com. Flederman Von Reist, assembled right here in Indiana. Built for the generations. This is going to last. You're going to pass this down to your kids, and they are going to love it. Use promo code KATZ, K-A-T-Z, and get your discount. Absolutely fantastic timepieces. Love wearing them. I was at a black tie event a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I could put on my 59 Rolex. I could put on my Tudor Advisor, which is a very rare and fantastic timepiece, and I do still wear them. But I wore my Von Reist, and it's just worked absolutely perfectly. And it's going to work for Sunday church. It's going to work for every day. Von Reist, R-I-E-S-T-E, vonreist.com. Use promo code KATZ. Get your discount. Do that immediately. Do that. So we'll come back to the radio show, and I will get into some of these other things. Oh, I hate it when I have to publicly disagree with people who I'm supposed to be aligned with. But you know what? I don't hate it. It's important. Sometimes you disagree. You can't be afraid to say so. That's the point. Can't be like, well, you know, we're aligned, so therefore I shouldn't. Nah, it's time to. Sometimes you just gotta throw. You gotta throw down. Sometimes you speak lovely. Sometimes it's kindness. Sometimes, hey, I disagree. And sometimes, like, man, you are really wrong about this. You haven't thought it all the way through. Sometimes you gotta make it public too. That's coming, but we'll get to that. Back to the show.
Republicans have voted repeatedly to pass a clean, nonpartisan bill to reopen our government. And remember, at the same funding levels, both parties have supported in the past. So the radical Democrats have chosen to put the economy of our country. We have the best economy we've ever had. We had the best economy in my first term, but we have an economy that's blowing it away. And we have the Democrats are trying to obstruct. They don't want to have a good economy. I don't think they want to have a good country. That's why they try and stop our law enforcement from doing what we did in Washington, D.C.
That is often the way it looks. That the left is not interested in what it is that we are interested in. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. And I argue that they're not. They're not interested in the same things. Their view of America is not our view of America. There is a fundamental difference. And sometimes their view of America is so warped, the legitimate question is, wait, are these Americans? What they favor is not America. What they favor is not the American way of life. The favoring of this socialism is very, very odd. When I say odd, par for the course for them, I should say dangerous. They favor bigger and bigger and bigger government. This whole shutdown is Democrats saying we want to extend Obamacare subsidies that they agreed to have sunset in December of 2025. They agreed to this. They voted for this in the Inflation Reduction Act, which was an incredible lie. They voted for this. And now they want to act like Republicans are stopping people from getting health care. No part of that is true. It's just a lie. It is what it is, what it is. And not only are they lying about it, they want to start fights about it. This was crazy. You know what? Hold off, because I was talking about the socialism. Let me go to Josh Hawley. I have no idea what the senator from Missouri is doing here. He is speaking at a hearing, and he's talking to a union leader. This is what it is he's talking about.
And meanwhile, these guys are fighting you, Mr. O'Brien, every step of the way as you try to get some basic representation for their workers, for their drivers. Tell us about what you've been facing from this company.
I'll get this right at one point. Amazon is probably the largest violator of the NLRA right now. And they have grown significantly, to your point. They focus on 150% turnover ratio in their workforce. They focus on distressed communities. And the number one violator of OSHA, they've got the most violations last time we checked. Now, we have a model that's a similar company that employs similar workforce at United Parcel Service, 340,000 Teamsters that are part-time and full-time. Those part-timers earn full-time benefits, health and welfare and pension. They earn wage increases guaranteed every year. They earn a livable wage. And most importantly, they have a path to a full-time career.
Let's take a moment to take a breath. Josh Hawley is in this hearing speaking to Sean O'Brien, who's the president of the Teamsters. And Sean O'Brien is making a great argument for why you should work for UPS and not Amazon. No one is forcing anybody to work for Amazon. Amazon does not have to be unionized at all. They can decide to go about their business any way they choose, and people can decide to work there or not work there. That is how the natural course of things should go. Forced into a union? No, thank you. If you think that the union gives you some value over there at UPS, go ahead. Not stopping you. Go to it. But if Sean O'Brien is going to engage the conversation of livable wage, well, we have a problem, because this is the living wage conversation, and we should be clear, there is no such thing as the living wage. It is not real. It doesn't exist. What's a living wage? Explain it. Do the math on it. 833-GOT-TONY, 833-468-8669. The live stream, youtube.com/Tony Katz. Go subscribe and be a part of that. Tell me. Email me, Tony@TonyKatz.com. What is the living wage? It doesn't exist. It's not real because a living wage is different to everyone. The very concept of how one wants to live is different to everyone. And how people live is different based on just whether or not you're in Manhattan or whether you're in Detroit or whether you're in Tulsa or whether you're in Baton Rouge or whether you're in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's all different. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. If you have no kids, your living wage could very well be different than somebody who has 3 kids, 2 of which need certain medicines every single day. What's a living wage? I just want to make sure we understand what a nonsense statement this is, what nonsense this is from the Teamsters president. This is nonsense. But go back now and listen to Josh Hawley as Mr. O'Brien here from the Teamsters is slapping around Amazon.
That on the average, the UPS full-time employee makes about $140,000 per year for doing the same business, and UPS is a very profitable business.
Boy, you talk about $140,000 and change. You talk about that versus $37,000. I'm just thinking back to your reference to rerum novarum, the dignity of the individual. I mean, how are you supposed to raise a family on $37,000? The difference between that and what you've been able to secure at UPS is incredible. Let me just ask you this.
If people want to work at Amazon, they work at Amazon. How are people supposed to live on? What kind of statement is this from Republican Josh Hawley? And this is all, this audio comes from a tweet he put out. Amazon CEO makes at least $40 million a year, while the average Amazon worker makes less than $38,000 a year. How is that pro-worker or pro-American? Writes Josh Hawley. It's time to put American workers first. Elizabeth Warren could have written that. Whatever this is, and this is not the first time he's gone down this road regarding the minimum wage and believing we should increase the minimum wage. You want to hear my opposition to the minimum wage? Milton Friedman was absolutely correct. The minimum wage keeps people from negotiating in their best interest. It does. The minimum wage keeps people out of the workforce. The minimum wage is nothing more than a benefit of the federal government, telling businesses you have to be better because we demand it, as opposed to the business being able to run its business to the best of its ability and saying, this is what we pay. And then people don't have to take the job. This is a nonsense statement from someone who knows zero about economics. This is horrifying. And this is Elizabeth Warren talk. How is that pro-worker? So now you want to make the argument that only the union is pro-worker? With Republicans like this, who needs Democrats? Speaking of the Democrats, if you didn't hear the fight between Hakeem Jeffries and Representative Mike Lawler, oh my goodness. If you want to know how badly Democrats are losing this shutdown fight, which is on day 9, by the way, day 9, number 9, day 9 of the shutdown, they're losing big. And I know this because they're now basically accosting members in the middle of the hallways, hoping to shame them into it. You will not want to miss this. You won't believe it when you hear it. Keep it right here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. stalwart. And lately, I don't know what I'm seeing. But again, producer Landon asked me a question about Josh Hawley. I think this is that populism thing. And it's a real issue. It's a genuine problem. We need to protect the American worker. What does that mean? That you have that they have to get $182,000 a year? What does it mean? And you're talking about, as Josh Hawley is, the CEO makes $40 million. He only makes $39,000. Is that right? Well, as Iowa Hawk noted on Twitter X, Amazon has a $2.4 trillion market cap, and the CEO makes less money than Brock Purdy, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. What are we doing here? What are we saying here? And if the issue is you can't make more than the Amazon worker, I look forward to Josh Hawley taking a pay cut. He should lead by example. Me, I'm pissed that I don't make more than I do. I think it's nonsense. I should be making $40 million a year. I am at least entertaining, and I have never once crushed a package before delivering it. That's got to account for something. It is harder and harder to be a conservative these days. It really is. Nutty. Absolutely nutty. Come back in 60 seconds to the radio show. I should note that I am days away from getting my order. I ordered the cuts. I know what I'm getting. I'm getting things that I didn't even know I could get. DefianceBeef.com. Why are you paying supermarket prices? You can order a quarter, a half, full cow, butchered the way you want, all to you. The ground beef, everything. 21-day aged. 21-day aged. Everything is so tender. The flavor is absolutely remarkable, and it comes directly to you as you want it cut. Cryovac frozen, boom, delivered to your door right out of Indiana, right to you. DefianceBeef.com. You want to use promo code EAT-DRINK-SMOKE, get $150 off your order. Eat, Drink, Smoke. That's the promo code, and you will get $150 off your order. DefianceBeef.com. I'm telling you. Spectacular ribeyes, spectacular strips, the tenderloins, perfect. Briskets, there you go. It's all there. DefianceBeef.com is where you want to go. Use promo code EAT-DRINK-SMOKE, and you'll be better off. There it is. DefianceBeef.com. Day 9 of the shutdown, and yes, Democrats are aware they're losing this fight. And one of the things they're willing to do is to keep the shutdown going. Why? Because as of October 15th, some people are not going to get paychecks. And then the pain will ratchet up, and they'll be able to say, look at what Republicans are doing. They are playing a game of chicken with government workers and the military. There's not even a question. This is what they're doing. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Things are going so poorly. America is so not behind them, and there's data to back that up, that now you're seeing members accosted in the halls. This is Hakeem Jeffries basically yelling at Representative Mike Lawler. And this is how our leadership acts. This is nuts right here.
Did you get permission from your boss? Why don't we sign on right now? Did your boss, Donald Trump? You can easily extend the ACA Did your boss, Donald Trump, give you permission? Yes, he is. No, he's not. By the way, so let me ask you a question. Why did you vote to shut the government down? Why did you vote to shut it down? Let me ask you a question. For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open. You're making a show of this to make yourself relevant. It's sad. You could easily sign on to this. You're embarrassing yourself right now. You could sign on to this. The only embarrassment here is you. You're an embarrassment. You could sign on.
You're embarrassing yourself. You're an embarrassment. You can sign on. It's a piece of legislation to have certain things funded. This wasn't even about the CR, but you could just, the Senate can just pass the continuing resolution. This is going on. People are taking pictures and they're taking video. This is how it works. This is how you engage in the House of Representatives. Aren't we all just embarrassed already? But it gets crazier.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here. Why won't you sign on?
Let me ask you a question.
It's a clean extension for 1 year.
You voted for the one big ugly bill, correct?
I voted for a tax cut bill that gave the largest tax cut to Americans in history, including, by the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you?
Notice how Hakeem Jeffries calls it the one big ugly bill. Like, how do you expect to get anything done if this is how everyone's talking to each other? And then Hakeem Jeffries goes full tough guy.
Are you against that?
You're embarrassing
Do you
yourself
want to cut the standard deduction in half?
The
Is that
largest
what you
cut
wanted
to
to do?
Medicaid in
No, we
American
voted out
history. You voted
waste,
for that.
fraud, and abuse, by the
You
way.
voted
Tom DiNapoli, the
for a
Democratic
permanent-
controller of New York,
Let me ask you a question.
pointed out that $1.2 billion
If you're
were
gonna-
wasted.
Listen, you're not going to talk. You're not going to talk to me.
Wasted
You're not
on
going to talk to me
fraud
and talk
and
over
non-New
me
York residents
because you don't
getting
want to
paid.
hear what I have to say.
Oh, I'm
So
listening.
why
Go
don't you
ahead.
just keep your mouth shut?
Oh,
because you
is
showed up.
Is that the way to
you
talk?
showed up.
He's poking in his chest, doesn't actually touch him, but you're not going to talk to me that way. Why don't you just shut your mouth? At that moment, what are you still having a conversation for, Representative Lawler? We're done here, tough guy. You're losing this fight. I'm going to go try and help New Yorkers and walk off. What is left? Now, maybe that's just my way of doing it. What are you still sticking around for? And listen to Hakeem Jeffries, the tough guy. You can't persuade, so it's an attempt to embarrass, which isn't working, and you're kind of making yourself look ridiculous, and it's the pseudo-tough stuff. What? You are right to say this is gross.
You showed up, and so you voted for this one
I
big
signed
ugly
on
bill.
for this. You can extend it right now.
A permanent extension of massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors.
So 90% of Americans.
So they can get a permanent extension.
90% of Americans take the standard deduction.
Can? Is that right?
90% of Americans take the standard deduction.
Is that right?
If you had your way, the standard deduction would have been cut in half. That
No
would have been a
one-
massive tax increase on Americans all across the country.
You're
You support
here,
that?
unfortunately.
You're
to
against
do
lifting the cap on
bidding
salt?
of your billionaire donors.
Hakeem Jeffries has gone from your boss, Donald Trump, which, by the way, Donald Trump leads the Republican Party. How is this in any way a shock? To don't you interrupt me, to you're here to support billionaires. 3 things Hakeem Jeffries has done to try and instigate. 3 different things.
The billionaire donors, lifting the
That's
cap on
correct.
salt, we put a income cap in place.
Why are you here right now?
An income
Where are the
cap.
re- where are
Well,
the rest
didn't
of
you
your
want all
Republican
Republicans
colleagues?
to be here?
Where are
I'm
the rest?
here.
Where are the rest of your
You wanted
Republican colleagues?
Republicans to be here. I'm here.
Why are you
And by
here?
the way,
What-
you can pass an ACA extension right now. Sign
Did your
on to this
boss-
bill.
Did your boss?
ACA Affordable Care Act. He's got an extension out there that would keep it funded for a year with the subsidies and everything else. That's what Representative Lawler is pushing here. And Hakeem Jeffries doesn't want to talk about, okay, how do we get something done?
Sign on to the bill.
Is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
HR 5145. Why don't you get on it?
Mike, is your boss Donald Trump behind that?
Why won't you get on it?
Because you don't work for the American people.
Oh, I do. I
You
work
don't
for the people of New York. I work for the people of my district.
Is that why you? Is that
I'm
why
here.
You got 145,000
And by the way, I voted
people
for
on
a
Medicaid.
clean CR to keep the government open
Mike,
and funded.
you're-
You voted to shut it
You're
down.
embarrassing yourself right
Yeah,
now.
leader, with all due
Well, as we
respect,
would say
you're
back
the
in the-
one,
why are you playing yourself?
you're the one
Why are you
who
playing
actually
yourself with
voted
these
to shut
theatrics?
the government down.
Actually, you
It's
know
sad.
that's not true.
It's sad. You voted to shut the government
Listen,
down.
Do Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the President?
Right, and
correct?
you're smart enough to know
Is
that you
right?
need 60 votes in the Senate,
Is
right?
that right? No.
Do you need 60 votes in the
Were
Senate or no?
60 votes needed to pass your one big ugly bill?
Reconciliation, which you
Was
did with
60
the IRA.
was-
Lawler handled himself well. Sad that he had to. You wonder why things don't get done. But I think this is a great example of the fact that Democrats don't have the juice, and they haven't convinced anyone, and these are the tactics. This is Tony Katz today. Unbelievable. Should we finish it up real quick? Here, let's finish it up real quick here.
Boy, that really reduced inflation.
Are you
did a
trying to
great job
elevate
there.
yourself because you're afraid
I'm not
you're
trying to
about lose
elevate myself.
re-election?
No, I'm not going to lose re-election.
Mike,
You spent $42 million last cycle. You didn't do that great.
Why aren't you running for governor right now?
Because I actually enjoy
Howard's
this
running
job,
for
and I'm
governor. How many more times is he going to move around? How many more times is he going to try and change the subject? Lost. My gosh. They're not even discussing the thing. All Hakeem Jeffries is trying to do is instigate and insult and attack. Lawler is talking about sign on to the bill.
Here to do it. And by the way, you could actually pass a subsidy right now to ensure that people don't have health care premiums going up. Why won't you support this one-year bill?
Let me ask you a question.
Tom Swazi's on it, Jared Golden,
Let me ask you a question.
Marie Blusenkamp-Perez. Are they wrong?
Yes,
John Davis?
your other boss,
Are they wrong?
Your other boss, Mike Johnson, I challenged him to a debate.
Yeah.
On the floor. Did he send you?
No, I'm here on
his
my behalf
because
of
he's
my
afraid to
constituents,
debate. Is
because
that
you
right?
shut the government
Subject
down.
again.
And my constituents are suffering as a result of your ridiculous ploy, because you're so afraid of Zohran Mamdani. By the way, when are you endorsing him?
By the way,
do you endorse him for mayor?
First of all, are
Are you going to endorse him for mayor?
Listen, you're a
That's a
complete
subject
and
change
total
coming back.
embarrassment right now.
Oh, why is that? Because you don't want to answer the question?
Is this supposed to be a video for your failed
You don't want
re-election?
to. You don't want to answer the question. Do you support Zohran? By the way, did you see his
Listen.
statement yesterday?
Listen.
An embarrassment on October 7th, blaming the Jews. You support that? Should he be the Democratic nominee for mayor?
First of all, I don't answer to you. You
Should
don't
he be
even
the Democratic
answer to
mayor?
yourself.
Should he be the
You don't
Democratic
even-
nominee
I'll
for
answer
mayor?
whatever questions I need to answer about
Okay,
the
so
mayor's
you think
race,
his statement
about the Ameri-
yesterday was okay?
First of all,
All right. That's sad.
First of all,
It's unfortunate.
don't come with this phony.
These are bills.
No.
These are bills. They're not phony.
It's
They're
not
real
a bill
bills.
that Republicans.
Unbelievable. And he had no answer for the Zohran Mamdani stuff. Who will be the next mayor of New York? That is absolutely going to happen. 10,000%. How incredible is that? And when I say incredible, how insane and gross is all of that? Dear Lord. I appreciate you guys being here. I get to do this show every day because of you, and I can't thank you enough. Head on over to TonyKatz.com and subscribe. I'd appreciate it if you would. It's easy to do. It's free. You can be a supporter. I'd greatly appreciate it, but that's totally up to you. Go to TonyKatz.com and become a supporter over there. Back tomorrow at noon. The show continues at WIBC.com. You can listen to it live right there. It will be happening. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And I will catch you tomorrow, everyone. Take care.